Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we're going through another box of my vintage pan giant collection, getting them cleaned and tidied and polished, looking as good as possible before they go back into the collection. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so we're starting off with Pan X 346 and At the Heart of the Storm now. This one dates from 1964, and I've got to admit, when I was pulling these books off the shelf, I thought, boy oh boy, there's a few slightly the worse for wear, shall we say, with these. But we'll have a look through, take out any internal marks, repair any sort of spines and things like that, and then I'll give them a brush, and then finally a polish. I feel like I've got a speckle of paint right across the front. I've got to admit, quite a few of these are a little bit the worse for wear compared to some of my early ones. The thing is, with a lot of these now, the ones that we're getting to, these are ones that, on the whole, have been picked up in the wild. They're not, top grade copies like this one, for example. So this is X367, The Case of the Lucky Loser, or Earl Stanley Gardner. This one's going to go up on my upgrade list. Yeah, in a lot of cases, they're just copies that are filling a hole until a better one comes along, really. Not all of them, just some of them. But it's funny, as time goes on, your standards very much change, and mine have certainly changed as I've become a more seasoned collector, shall we say, as usual. So far, not a lot of work to be done. Just the one upgrade. That's not too bad. See, they do vary a little bit, They really do. Some are better than others. Simple as that. That's absolutely fine. Get the very next one. Look at that spine. So I'm going to put this one straight on the upgrade list. X387. Never Go to Sea. Yeah, just a very beaten up old copy, really sun bleached. Bleached and or cigarette stained. Yeah, really awful, that one. It's almost tempted just to throw it away, but I don't like to do that. I'll keep it just as a filler, It's got a big 50p in. So last week we did the first of the Pelicans. That went down really well, and the books themselves really benefited. Those really early 1930s paperbacks, they really benefited from having that extra clean. So I shall definitely be doing some more of those in the rotation until they're all done. I've got quite a soft spot for the Pelicans. It's not like I'm pulling any of them to read nowadays, although there's some really great titles in there. Just, they are a little bit dry. Unlike the Pans, which has got some great stuff in here, I think that's part of their ongoing attraction with Pans, is that there's still a lot of good authors in there that you might want to read, People like John Creasy, for example. Yeah, they're a little bit old-fashioned nowadays and a little bit old hat, but if you've never read them, you've got a whole backlist of really cool stuff to get into, and I think that's the attraction still of these Pan books. Now this one's a little bit worn. Let's get my old so it might be worth putting a bit of glue in that spot there, but this is a pretty tatty old copy. Boldness be my friend. In fact, it is the third printing, but it'll be the first with this number, so it's a reissue, but that's correct, it's still the first. Yeah, it's a Second World War escape one, which I do like. So I'm going to just put a slide of glue along the bottom of the spine there. But I'll definitely pop this one on my upgrade list. X393, Boldness Be My Friend. There we are. A quick repair where the spies are. Oh yeah, it's a movie tie-in. David Niven as Dr. Jason Love. See, that's a reprint, so I'd say that should still stick on my wants list because I haven't got this one in a first printing. So we'll make sure that X396 is still on the wants list in first edition. Here's an Agatha Christie Sitterford mystery. This may well be a reissue. Might be a first. Yeah, it was actually. Not credited, but I'm sure it's a Francis Phillips cover. Morris West. Yeah, I'll assume that's the correct cover on that one. It's only a later edition. The Case Against Satan. Look at that oval. With the pitchfork there. Oh blimey, is that him? The Devil Incarnate. A little bit of very, very faint pencil mark in there of some sort. For when this book was new. Right, let's slide that pile over there. When I just go through these, we'll do the first sweep through, then we'll do the brushing, and then we'll do the polishing. Actually, what I think I might do, because it's a bit up close, I'm just going to pull the camera out a tad. There we are, that's hopefully given us a little bit more room to play with. It was in a bit too close. Got a little mail-in form there. Oh, look at this, look. April 76. It's funny how often we see that, isn't it? People make a little note of when they last read the book. First published 65. Actually, I'll stick the spines over there because I know people do like to look at them whilst we're going through. Alice E.V. Cunningham. Yes, all right. There's a lot of VG books here. There's not a lot of top shape or, tip-top unread copies. But as I say, it's just from the period. I've never really focused on the Pan giants and even the great Pans, really. What I've got has sort of come my way. The only ones I've really focused on were the original numbered series, which I think is great fun to collect. But as a Pan collector, I ought to move on to some of these later ones now with a bit more earnest. It's just I keep getting distracted with other series. That's the thing, you know. It's fatal. That's a great one, that Clifford Simak. That is a nice one, that. Yeah, it's a little the worse for wear. Yeah, I think I'll pop that on the upgrade list as well. X435 Undine, Phyllis Brett Young. This is interesting. This is Moll Flanders. It's the there's Kim Novak there. It's the movie tie-in introduced by Colin Wilson. It's a shame it's got a really worn spine because I think this is quite an interesting edition of Moll Flanders, in all honesty. There we are. That's quite an interesting intro, that one. I might put that on my upgrade list as well. So X438 Moll Flanders. I mean, once they're up on the list, it just means that if I come across one again, I can double check and I'll know that it's one that I've got in low grade. But when I generally put a book down as an upgrade, I generally don't pick up the replacement unless it really is tip-top condition, you know, so it's a really good upgrade, rather than just like one which I'm eventually going to want to upgrade yet again, you know. I try and be quite strict with my upgrades. There we are, Paperbacks girls' names. And quite a few of these are reissues. This is another one that's a reissue from an earlier edition, The Frogman. That was a job I wouldn't have fancied, to be honest. Yeah, so heavily reprinted, but look, this is the first one with that number because it says new edition reset. So that original one was out in the 54, 55. That's the reset 60s one. Different jacket as well. Send Superintendent West. Send him. So this is absolutely perfectly acceptable for a standard crime title. I mean, that's beautiful. Not mint by any means, but just good enough, you know. Had this one a long old time. I used to pick these up even before I collected pans. Was these old Hitchcock anthologies. This one is a little worse for wear, probably because it's one that I've had for years, literally since I was, you know, a schoolboy. So it's a bit worn, this one. So I'll pop it on the upgrade list. X457, Alfred Hitchcock Presents Stories for Late at Night, Part 2. Senor Saint. Hey, senor. Yeah, that's not too bad. Much better than the other one. Right, let's slide that pile over. We've got room for one more here, which is Hammerhead, James Mayo. Interesting jacket, isn't it? A little mark on the front there. A lot of that will come off when we get to the polishing stage, of course. So it's been quite a busy old week. My main channel hit 25,000 subscribers, which was brilliant. Science fiction anthology here. So yeah, that was really cool. And I did a little question and answer video, which has now gone out on the main channel. It went out on Friday, so do check that out if you haven't already. Been to Shepton Mallet Toy Fair. That was really good. Just 1 week after the West Point, so it was fine. But awful lot of shows to be doing in such a short order. I'm going to pop that one on the upgrade list as well. The Expert Dreamers, Frederick Poole, X463. It's just a little bit too tatty for a copy of that one. I remember having this one for a long time. Yeah, so that's been going on. And then this week I've got a trip to, this coming up, I've got a trip to Dorset Bob, book dealer in Dorset. And then, that's lovely, that one, isn't it? Another nice one. And then the day after that, my wife, look at that. My wife is taking me, I think that should go on there, you know, like that. I think. We'll put that in there. Yeah, my wife is taking me to the special collections in the local university where there's actually a penguin collection that they were donated from, I believe, a local collector who passed away. And I'm going to have a look through that, which will be quite good. I'm allowed to take photos. Don't think I'm allowed to take any video, but I will have some like photos that I'll be able to share on the main channel. It'll just be a little short visit and my thoughts about the collection. I don't really know what I'm going to do if I find the one penguin that I'm actually missing. Right, this is a reprint as well. So this is X474. It's a really nice copy, Modesty Blaze, Purodon, but it's not the original, it's the reprint. So I'll pop that as one to make sure I'm still looking for. That's actually a really beautiful copy of that one. So that's pretty cool. Give Us This Day, another wartime one. Yes, it's going to be quite a busy old week as per usual. I'm hoping that my friend Steve, the Outlaw Bookseller, will be able to join me when I visit Bob. Now this one looks a little bit the worse for wear. I think that's a little bit of an understatement. Yeah, look at the state of it. So let's get this. I'll get it looking as good as possible, of course. I'll get rid of that 75p someone paid for that. I don't think it was me. So we are looking at X478, So Disdained. Neville Shute. Upgrade required. Another Alan Hunter. Our native rival to Simonon. I seem to remember I got a few of these Alan Hunter books all in a little job lot, as I recall. This is one of them horror anthologies, this one edited by John Burke. Of course, by this time the Pan Horror Story series was going. This is a bit of a rival. A bit foxing on that one, but generally okay. He just about passes muster. Dead Men Rise Up Never, Christopher Landon. They're certainly pushing modesty blades at the back of the books from this period, aren't they? I wonder if Pan were thinking that they were looking for, because this is the height of the spy era, wasn't it? James Bond and Man from U.N.C.L.E. And I guess they were pushing modesty blades as possibly another one in that vein, you know. Cincinnati Kid. What a great movie this is. Watched it last year. Really, really enjoyed it. A high stakes poker game. McQueen is just magic in it. I mean, really, really incredible. It's one of his greatest roles. Highly recommended. The supporting cast as well is stunning. It's, never seen the Cincinnati Kid. I recommend it. It's great. Drown proofing, the new survival technique. Blimey O'Reilly. Well, I do a lot of swimming. I've actively started swimming the last few months. I go at least twice a week now, and I'm really, really loving it. And it's great for your overall fitness. So yeah, there you go. I recommend getting into swimming as a low impact way of exercising, because I generally do a job that's sat down. When I do my videos, I'm generally sat down. So I don't get a chance during the day much to do much exercise. So going swimming is awesome. Not that you've come here for any health advice, but I'm just saying, if you at all are interested, there's and you've got a local pool near you, it can be a good little habit to get into if you're that way inclined. I certainly haven't swam properly for years, and I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. So that is all good. Does a lot for your mental health, you know. I like to, because you can't do a lot when you're just doing your legs, is there? There's not a lot you can do, and I tend to sort of plan out the week ahead, as it were, sometimes, or even sometimes just the day ahead, if I've got loads on, you know. But usually a few days to a week ahead. Now this one I think is okay, because it's a reissue, but it's the 1966 reissue, so I'm sure it'll be the first one with that particular cover, and it's a nice copy as well. Richard Gordon, that's in May. He was the chap who wrote the Doctor books, wasn't he, the Richard Gordon chap? Yeah, not the greatest of copies, that one, so I'll pop it on the wants list. So Richard Gordon, X505, nuts in May, upgrade. Lots and lots of faults with that one, so as I believe is this one. This one I couldn't believe looking at the spine, look at it. So instantly on the upgrade list, Tom and Jenny, X507, Kenneth Warner. But we'll have a flick through. It looks like a sort of ladies romancey title, possibly, or a family drama. Anyway, it's a bit of a tatty copy, that one. So right, on to almost the last pile now. This is another movie tie-in. It's got Michael Caine in, Peter Cook, Dudley Moore, Tony Hancock, Peter. Got a hell of a cast. The wrong box. Star-studded cast. Well, there you are. Don't think I've ever seen it. Don't think I could have done that well. Great jacket. Passion flowers in Italy. there was a movie of this as well, The Passion Flower Hotel, which was quite fun, as I recall. A bit like the St. Trinians, Girls of St. Trinians. That was the sequel to that one. Passion Flowers in Italy. This is another one which is in an awful state, sadly. So let's get this one upgraded. X512, All the Nice Girls, John Winton. Yeah, in an awful old state. Look at the state of that. Don't look at it. It's too embarrassing. Here we are. Hillary War, Death and Circumstance. These are the part of the American crime writers. So they were a particular series where you had a tiny little illustration, which is a complete cop-out inside like the loop of a set of handcuffs. Not a massive fan of that. I think Pan were being cheap, personally. There's another Andrew Garth, as I said. I'm sure I bought a little collection, as I recall, and I had quite a few come in one hit. And they were all these quite nice paper quality books. They've been sort of original owned and looked after. Here's another one, The Sea Monks. Not the Sea Monkeys, The Sea Monks. Old Andrew Garth. This is a nice one, The Hammer Horror Omnibus. So this has got John Burke's take on 4 Hammer films. And The Revenge of Frankenstein actually had, I think it's a Jimmy Sangster adaptation when the film first came out in the late 50s, published by Panther. But then John Burke did his own take on it. And he got 4 movie adaptations into the one book here. Quite a sought after one, this, in fact, you know. This particular book, yeah, 1966. This one tends to go for like 15 to 20 pounds, this one. So probably by far the most collectible book we've seen today. The Horsey Set. Another one looks a bit like ladies' sort of light fiction by the look of it. We've not found any sort of bookmarks. We've not found any bus tickets this time around, have we? Peter George, he's the guy who wrote Dr. Strangelove. Absolutely obsessed with the end of the world and nuclear war. And consequently blew his brains out. Very, very tragic character, you know. That was that one, Commando number 1. That's a nice Perry Mason there, all standing. The Case of the Footloose Doll. Once again, although they've got a distinctive style with like the almost like the Bond circles, isn't it? They do get away with not having to give the books any particular stylized artwork. And I guess this is a sign. If we look at when this was published, 1966, it's a sign of the times and how cover design has changed from those gorgeous, beautiful painted ones of the mid to late 50s up to what we've got here now. Girl on the Bus, another photograph cover. It's short stories edited by Herbert Van Thal. Famous, of course, for his Pan Book of Horror Stories. Two Faces of January, Patricia Highsmith. So I do like. I think she's a great author. And I think I've got them all in Pan. Not that there's many to get, but I do have them all. Obviously, the hard one is Talented Mr. Ripley. That's the tough one to get, which I've got, but it's not A1, but it's a £20 Pan. And the last one here, not the sequel to Tamiko, which is the most famous one by Ronald Kirkbridge, but Song of the Undersea, which is sort of set in the same universe, as it were. And that one, yeah, I actually bought in Singapore. That would have been the place to read something like that. So, in actual fact, we've not had a lot of repair work to do, just the odd spine and a bit of rubbing out. So, from that point of view, we've got off quite lightly this time round. As I said, we're doing them in order, so you never know. Sometimes we could have some really difficult ones to do. So, I think the next thing I'll do then is we'll give all 4 stacks a brush off. I think that'll be the best thing to do next. So, got my trusty shoe brush here. And I don't think any of these are massively bad, but there's definitely some bad ones contained within, shall we say, you know. Some are certainly worse than others. And some might say should have just gone straight into the bin, but I'm reluctant to do that for a book that I don't have at all. If it's a series that I collect, you know, I like to keep at least, you know, even the tatty one in my collection, just as a stopgap filler, you know, and lots of people do that. Comic collectors especially. They'll have a low-grade filler for a long time until a better one comes along. Quite common practice amongst the comic collectors. That wasn't too bad. First stack. It's funny actually, just doing one sort of wedge of books each week. It's amazing how much we've got through in like about a year and a half. I don't think the channel's not 2 years old yet. It's probably about a year and a half or a year and 3/4. But still looking at it, there's still more to do than you might think, you know. But we will eventually catch up on ourselves. And as I said, we're going to move on to some other stuff then, you know. So other bits that are going to need cleaning before I sell it. It's a mucky old job, this part of it. This is the worst bit, because it does send a load of dust into the atmosphere of the studio. But it would be nice to think that most of my book collection had been cleaned before what is hopefully going to be a move next year. It might be next year, it may end up being the year after. We're not going to rush it, but it's going to take quite a lot of preparation, and this really what we're doing, plus me clearing out some of my other merchandise collections, you know, is making room and going to make that move so much easier, and it won't be so, well, there won't be so much to move for starters, you know. But the books will temporarily have to go into storage just while the house is made good and put on the market. I don't think we'll have too much trouble finding somewhere that we're looking for, you know. We're not that demanding, I don't think. But it needs to have a room big enough for a purpose-built library. That's the main thing, isn't it? A room is okay, I want it to be as big as possible, really, so I can get everything in there. So it's going to be purpose built. It won't have much else in there apart from the books and a little island in the middle for more books, and possibly room for a desk, and that would be ideal if I could have that, but no guarantees, of course. So we've got at least one more video of these pan giants to do. And then we'll be on to the pan majors, which is the M's. Right, that's all the brushing done. Next we need to get polishing. So we'll go back to pile number 1 again, and I'm going to just clean the camera and I'm going to re-angle it again. Right, trying to find a nice clean bit of cloth. I've got to admit, even I am beginning to think that this duster's probably just about had it. So it may be time to invest in a few new ones. Maybe. There we are. Right then, let's give these. Now, some of them are going to be much worse than others. Some of them are going to be like this one. Not, in all honesty, not too bad. But it does, as we've seen in the past, it definitely makes a difference. This is the one that had like a splattering on the front. I don't think the polish is going to do anything with that. Nah, I don't know what it was. Might have been a little bit of paint or something, but a better one will come along. Same with this one. We know they're out there. This one's quite sought after. I think it's sort of a history of witches and witchcraft. beating the polish as usual. That's okay. Another John Creasy there. Certainly these sort of 60s authors, with a few exceptions, there's quite a few that are a bit sort of nondescript. You know, they don't have a distinctive style, and I often wonder if maybe they're more like house illustrators rather than, you know, a particular one. I don't know, but yeah, quite a beaten up one there. Whoops. Move that pile out of the way of my handiwork. Quite a nice copy of that one, actually. Lovely, that's the first pile done. Okay, stack number 2. This George Sava, you can't believe how many books he wrote on like being a surgeon. Absolutely amazing. I mean, it's like he created his own subgenre. It's true, you know. Cool, getting there. We're definitely getting there. There we are. So yeah, as I film this, we're a couple of weeks away from Christmas. He'll be with us in no time. It's been an interesting year. There's been a lot going on, and it's all good. You know, it's all good. But just a lot happening. But I hope you've enjoyed watching the channel. As I said, even if the viewing figures were really, really small, I'd still do this and record it, because it's just, by being regimented and having to do one video a week, it just means that I'm constantly making progress on the collection and it being cleaned. And that's a really good feeling, believe it or not, you know, to know that an awful lot has now been done as good as we can get it, you know. It does make upgrading quite easy as well. If I come across extra copies, I can very easily compare which ones were the best, you know. Okay, so that is stack number 2. We are actually ever so slightly over halfway in the portion. This final segment. I'm just trying to think ahead of what's coming next week. Let me think. I think it's more modern hardbacks. So last time I think we got up to the end of Andrea Camilleri, and we did, didn't we? And we did Roald Dahl's The Tales of the Unexpected Folio Society. So we got up to D's. So we're looking at, I think, in actual fact, we get as far as, we'll probably, because I did 2 boxes of hardbacks, because there's not so many actual books to look at. I think we'll be getting up as far as the author Julian Stockwin, who did Naval, still does, write a naval series called Kidd, Thomas Kidd. And I think we'll have the start of those next. So yeah, that'll be next week, if all goes to plan, if I can fit it in. It's been quite tricky, but I should be okay to get that done next week with a bit of luck. And thankfully, with the holiday period coming up, I do have about a week off work, which will be very, very handy to get a little bit ahead of the game, ready for the new year. Let's see what 2024 brings. This one's very, it's a nice spine, but it's a little bit nicotine stained. But I'm taking it off and it's coming out. Look at that. Look at that nicotine. Jeez. It's coming off really well, which is good. So, because that should be bright white, but it's been in the company of a smoker in its life, and that's why that mark is on there. Yeah, there we are. That's as nice as we're going to get that one. Right, we're over halfway through. I'm gonna actually just swap and give that side a polish, a spray as it were. This is a remarkably bright and clean copy of that one, much better than is usual. Nice copy of Modesty Blaze. I've actually ever seen the film, you know. So I get it. It's like isn't she like a female James Bond in a sort of funny sort of way. I know there's a few books. It's about 5 books, I think, in the series. Comic strip as well, I think. So Disdained. That's what this is. Very beaten up copy. It is indeed a bit disdained. Tales of Unease. I wonder quite how uneasy they actually are today, if you were to read them. I wonder. Spray it on. Keep Mr. Sheen in business. Not sure what that is actually. It looks a bit like sticker residue, but a bit tricky to tell. last time that was in an awful state. Awful. Right. There we are. So that's pile number 3. Now we've just got one more short pile to do. And then our video will be done for today. For this week. And we've not done bad this year, have we? I think we only missed 1 week, which was pretty good, all things considered, you know. Have you watched them all? I'd be interested to know. Do you go back and watch the backlist? Do you watch them all to the end? So many questions. Right, let's do this last dozen or so. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Been some interesting books, for sure. It's not the most classic period of vintage Pan. There's some good stuff published, don't get me wrong. And don't forget the James Bond, all the James Bond re-releases and the Pan horror are separate. They're not included in my main Pan run here. So consequently, they're not going to turn up in these sort of cleaning videos, else we would have had some James Bond titles mixed in to this little lot, you know. But we don't mind such things. I said the James Bond books have all been done in a separate video. If you've not seen that one, just look back on the channel. I am going to, if I get a spare afternoon, I'm going to break down the playlists on this channel. So if you just want the Penguin main series every week, you know, you could just sort of go through and play all the Penguin ones. If you just wanted like the hardbacks, if you just wanted the Pan ones in order, I'll do those as well, I think, you know. And then like a playlist for miscellaneous publishers. I think that might work out quite nicely. And then for the old hardbacks as well. So quite a bit of scope, I think, for breaking down the playlists, and they might go down quite well. At the moment I've just got one, just 2 playlists on the entire channel, which doesn't really do a lot, does it? Anyway, yes. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. If you have, do please give the video a thumbs up. Give yourself a thumbs up if you managed to last to the end. If you've not already, hit that subscribe button. And if you've been enjoying the videos, do please leave a comment. They do mean an awful lot, and I do, maybe not on the same day, but I will, you know, 2 or 3 times a week I'll go in and check all the comments on the channel, make sure I have replied to them all, because I like to, if I can, you know. Yeah, next week look out for some hardbacks, more modern first editions. And that's it for today, really. So yeah, thanks again for watching. And I will look forward to seeing you in a week's time.